Hi there, welcome to Rumor Spill. Due to a terrible event that took place in the middle of Memphis, a city that is well known for its booming music industry, the waters of a long-standing rivalry have been stirred once more. This is because the event took place in the heart of Memphis. As a result of the shooting of Big Juk, who is the brother of the well-known rapper Yo Gotti, the conflict that has been going on between the collective music group, CMG, and Paper Route Empire has been brought back to life. One of the questions that remains unanswered is whether or not this may have been a tragic coincidence or whether or not it was an intentional act of violence with the objective of settling old scores. The tragic demise of Large Juk, a character who was well known in the music industry for his contributions to Yo Gotti's label, occurred in front of Perron's Restaurant and Event Center in East Memphis. The passing of this individual was a terrible blow to the music industry. The incident occurred on a day that was supposed to be a day of mourning and remembering, and Uncle Eric was a notorious figure from Memphis's past. The day was supposed to be a day commemorating his life. To pay their respects to Uncle Eric, members of the family and friends had gathered together. The sound of gunfire shattered the atmosphere, which was already weighed down by the gravity of the situation. An event that was supposed to be solemn became a spectacle of chaos and hopelessness as a result of this. Because of the aftermath of the killing, the Memphis Police Department instantly sprung into action, and they are currently conducting a manhunt for the individuals responsible for this heinous crime. When the news of Big Juk's passing spread around the world, it put the music industry and the community at large in a state of shock. Both of these groups were left reeling from the surprise of his passing. Eyewitnesses stated that they saw a white SUV that appeared to be suspicious in the area of the incident, which led detectives to the conclusion that the occurrence was part of a targeted attack. A great deal of attention has been paid to the question of whether there is a connection between this tragic event and the passing of young Dolph, who was also a big figure in the Memphis music scene. This question has been the subject of a great deal of discussion. Because Big Juk had made it known to the world that he looked down on young Dolph, it was common knowledge that the two of them had a deep-seated hatred toward one another. Young Dolph was under the impression that Big Juk was superior to him. Because of the competition and tension that exists between CMG and Paper Route Empire, a lot of people are curious about whether or not there is more to Big Juk's death than meets the eye. This is because of the fact that rivalry and friction exist between the two companies. Throughout the course of the story, Glock, who is young Dolph's cousin, has developed into a vocal advocate for the implementation of justice. Not only has he voiced his tremendous sorrow, but he has also vowed to seek retribution for the untimely passing of his cousin. People have been apprehended and charged as a direct result of the discoveries that have been made in the investigation into the murder of young Dolph. These discoveries have led to significant advancements in the field. A further layer of complexity is added to a story that is already quite convoluted by the likelihood that his death was tied to that of Big Juk. On the other hand, this is a story that is already quite complicated. As a consequence of the repercussions of these tragic events, which have caused shockwaves to go throughout the community of Memphis, other individuals who are connected to the issue, such as Joshua Taylor, have also been victims of violence. There is a never-ending cycle of vengeance and retaliation, and it continues to give rise to concerns regarding the influence that it will have on the music industry as well as the community in general.
Despite the fact that the investigations are still underway, the precise reasons that led to these disasters and the connections that exist between them remain shrouded in mystery. As a result of the passing of Big Juk, young Dolph, and a number of other musicians, the Memphis music scene has been left with an unmistakable impact. The ramifications of the violence and rivalry that resulted from these killings have been left to the community to deal with since it has been left vulnerable. At a time when the community is grieving the loss of its boys and the music that had brought them together in the past, the possibility of peace and resolution looks like a far-off vision. The second section, there is a cloud of sorrow and uncertainty that has descended upon Memphis, and the streets, which were once busy with the sound of music and the promise of talent, have been shrouded in this cloud. As a consequence of the shooting of Big Juk, who played a big role in the music industry of the city, long-standing feuds have been reignited, and worries have been aired regarding the safety of the town as well as its possibilities for the future.
due to the fact that the competition between the Collective Music Group, CMG, and Paper Route Empire, which has been simmering below the surface for a considerable amount of time, has been brought to the forefront once more. People are left wondering about the true nature of this disagreement. This is because the competition has been brought to the forefront once again. The sad event took place in front of Perron's Restaurant and Event Center, which was the location of a meeting of family and friends that was supposed to pay honor to the memory of Uncle Eric, a well-known figure from Memphis's collective past. The gathering was intended to pay tribute to Uncle Eric's memory at the gathering. The concert, on the other hand, was tainted by violence, that is, when Big Juk was shot and died, which has since caused shockwaves to ripple across the music industry and beyond them. The gravity of the issue was brought into sharp focus as a direct result of the fast response that was provided by the Memphis Police Department. This response included the beginning of a manhunt for those who were responsible for this heinous act of violence. Big Juk was a man who had played a significant role in the growth of the local music industry. When the community learned of his passing, they were left in a state of shock. Accolades began to pour in for Big Juk. The investigation into the incident led to the conclusion that the shooting may have been a targeted attack. This conclusion was reached as a consequence of the inquiry. A white SUV that may have been connected to the crime was reportedly seen by witnesses who witnessed the incident. As a result of this, there has been a great deal of speculation around the question of whether or not there is a connection between the death of Big Juk and the murder of young Dolph, who also had a prominent part in the Memphis music scene and whose life was cut short by violence. A cause of contention has been the conflict that has been going on between CMG and Paper Route Empire, which Yo Gotti and young Dolph have been heading for a number of years.
This fight has been going on for a number of years. The public enmity that exists between Big Juk and young Dolph has poured gasoline on the fire, and many people are speculating whether or not the shooting was the product of this continuous competition between the characters. During the time that Glock has been mourning the loss of his cousin young Dolph, he has been very vocal about his desire for others to be held accountable for their actions. However, the possibility of a connection to Big Juk's death adds an extra layer of complexity to a scenario that was already pretty problematic. The advancements that have been made in the investigation into the murder of young Dolph have provided some cause for optimism. However, the situation is already quite convoluted. When it comes to the significance of these events to the people of Memphis, there is no way that the significance can be overstated.
As a result of the cycle of violence and revenge, the city's music business and its reputation have suffered severe effects. This cycle has not only had an influence on those who are directly involved in the problem, it has also had an effect on others who are not directly involved. Big Juk and young Dolph are two examples of exceptionally talented individuals who have passed away, and their deaths serve as a powerful reminder of the fragility aspect of life and the urgent need for peace and understanding. There is still a lack of clarity regarding the actual causes that led to these unfortunate occurrences, despite the fact that the story is still being repeated. However, the memories of those who have been lost and the music that they have left behind continue to vibrate throughout the community, despite the fact that it appears that a settlement and an end to the violence are a long way off in the future. At some point in the future, it is hoped that the streets of Memphis will once again be filled with the sound of music, rather than the echoes of strife and despair. This is the expectation. Subscribe Rumor Spill for more videos.